Hello, and welcome back to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the one and only Powerpuff Girls slash JoJo's Bizarre Adventure recap and discussion podcast. I'm Raven.
And I'm Allison.
I don't believe we have any new news to discuss regarding either the Powerpuff Girls or JoJo, so if you want to get on into it, we can start talking about the episodes. The episodes we're talking about today are JoJo versus the Ultimate Lifeform and Ultimate Warriors from Ancient Times.
Okay, so JoJo versus the Ultimate Lifeform, which this is season 1, episode 13, I believe. I will try my best to recap. Von Stroheim, is it Stroheim or Stronheim?
Stroheim.
Von Stroheim says the Pillar Man put the mask on people to turn them into vampires so he can then devour them to get stronger. JoJo, when introduced to the Pillar Man, tries to play tag, then tells Pillar Man he is a model and to pose. Pillar Man remains still and naked. I think he is in a loincloth. The Germans say JoJo is insane. JoJo says maybe the Pillar Man isn't so bad, that he doesn't want to fight and only came there to bring Speedwagon home. Pillar Man walks through him when JoJo tries to trip him, and Pillar Man zaps him. JoJo said Pillar Man only reacted like he did because the Germans shot at him. The Pillar Man picks up a gun and asks about it. He dismantles the gun and says the light is so bright. The Pillar Man was learning from them the whole time. JoJo keeps trying to joke around, but the Pillar Man is over it. He puts out backward ribs or fighting ribs around JoJo, which was really bizarre. The ribs seem to electrocute, and the Pillar Man is wondering why JoJo is different and he couldn't absorb his body. So I know he goes by San Viento, but I keep using Pillar Man just in case anyone's confused if I skip over to San Viento. It's the same guy. The Pillar Man thought that it had to do with JoJo's age and put his fingers through Speedwagon's head. JoJo used Haman on the Pillar Man, who repels it. Von Stroheim says San Viento, or the Pillar Man, must kill JoJo first, remove the poison parts, then absorb his body. JoJo wants to leave, but Von Stroheim says no one can leave because they're afraid of the Pillar Man escaping. JoJo tries different fighting strategies on the Pillar Man, but he feels like rubber, even his eyes. The Pillar Man knocks the wind out of JoJo. Von Stroheim freaks out and tries to start a self-destruct sequence. JoJo says he will try to use Haman while the Pillar Man tries to absorb him. The Pillar Man explodes and JoJo says he is all digestive system inside. San Viento's pieces start moving. JoJo attempts to keep the pieces from reconnecting. Von Stroheim says his weakness is the sun and that's why he made the masks. JoJo wants to drag him out into the sun. JoJo struggles with breathing. And then these little pieces of meat from the Pillar Man, from the explosion, start attacking JoJo's legs. So they're animated and trying to attack him. Von Stroheim leaps over the two men onto the steps and attempts to open the door to sunlight, but the Pillar Man attacks his ankle before he can reach the door. Stroheim asks JoJo to chop off his leg with an axe. JoJo does it after some arguing back and forth, and Stroheim reaches the door handle. The Pillar Man screams and tries to cover his face, then tries to crawl inside Von Stroheim's body. The Pillar Man begins to control his body. Von Stroheim wants to kill himself to stop San Viento. Von Stroheim says there are other Pillar Men and tells JoJo he must find another weakness besides sunlight and Haman. JoJo must go to Rome to find help. Von Stroheim blows up, but the Pillar Man is still there, even in the sun. JoJo and the Pillar Man collide and fall down a well. JoJo won't let him touch the water, and San Viento turns to stone. And that's the end credits.
So JoJo doesn't think thinks maybe San Viento isn't 100% evil. and is pretty much just willing to leave him there with the Nazis and just get Speedwagon. And maybe he should have just let Sanviento like sick him on the Nazis.
I guess, but they weren't going to let him leave, I don't think. 'Cause they were
Yeah.
afraid once the door was open, there was going to be no. Although it was daylight, so I'm not sure. But
Yeah,
there was no keeping him controlled.
yeah. If it was like it had just turned like dark out, and then they're like, "No, he can't go outside. He'll be too powerful." But it looked like it was about like high noon or something when they finally got out there.
But I can understand, like, it's nothing JoJo needs to be concerned about, I guess. Because he did just come for Speedwagon. But if they are screwing around with that, and it is kind of a part of his history, and he has the power to maybe stop someone like the Pillar Man, that possibly he should be involved.
Yeah. I think I would just be more sympathetic if like it wasn't the Nazis fucking around with this shit. Like if it was almost any other like group of people, I'd be like, okay, maybe he should help them out. But I'm like, no, it's Nazis. Just you could just leave them there for a little bit.
I don't know if it's just some random scientist being stupid about it, though. Too, I'm not sure they deserve help either.
Maybe.
It's like the guys making the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. Like maybe you
Yeah.
should have just left these pillar men alone, and then they wouldn't have come to life. And because if I think they all need like blood to reactivate them,
Yeah.
and they're just providing a way for them to wake up.
Yeah, that was really dumb of them. I think if I had just seen if I had myself had come across the Pillar Men, I was like, oh, there's these weird guys in the statues, and I had maybe even the slightest inkling that bringing them back to life would be a bad idea. I simply would not have. But that's just me.
I don't think they were prepared to control them. I mean, I get they wanted them for their war effort, but I don't think they had any idea of what they were gonna, how they were gonna use them, I guess.
Yeah, it very much is a Jurassic Park like scenario because they didn't like try to up their safety measures or anything. That's like basically where they cut corners. They're just like, nah, this would be fun to dig around with, and basically they fucked around and found out. And maybe it was slightly brave of Von Stroheim to be like, I will blow myself up to get rid of this guy. But again, he's a Nazi, so JoJo, I feel like you really don't have to hand it to. I'm just like, nope, nope. I will not hear the Nazi apology. No, thank you.
And JoJo, when first introduced to the live Pillar Man, he was being like pretty silly
Yeah,
around him. I'm not sure
he was on some Bugs Bunny shit as usual.
if I kind of explained that well there.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, he did maybe need to take that aspect of it a little bit more seriously. That he is like a very dangerous, like unknown enemy. And instead of just like trying to be like, let's tag my dude.
The Pillar Man kept calling all the regular people like primitives.
Yeah, which I guess is sort of fair because I feel like at least von Stroheim was kind of calling Sanviento primitive at first before he realized, oh, he can do all this neat shit. But he's kind of just like echoing back what he heard. So our next episode is Ultimate Warriors from Ancient Time. And we head to Rome, where JoJo eats squidding pasta and is angry that it's covered in black ink at first until the waiter explains to him that it's a traditional meal. He thinks it's delicious when he actually eats it. There's this Italian guy, and he's annoyed at JoJo's lack of refinement, but he obnoxiously flirts with the woman in such a way that even JoJo finds it gag worthy. JoJo thinks it'll be funny to throw almond charged spaghetti at the guy, but the dude catches the noodles with his fork and launches it back at JoJo's wine glass with Haman abilities of his very own. The guy gets a phone call and it is revealed that he is Caesar Antonio Zeppeli, the grandson of Will Antonio Zeppeli, and who JoJo is there to meet. We head back to the Speedwagon Foundation for a moment. It was created 28 years ago with Speedwagon's oil tycoon money. Speedwagon has taken San Viento's stone body and placed it under UV lights to keep him permanently entombed. However, even with the powerful UV lights, a snake that uses a test subject is absorbed by San Viento. Snaky did not deserve that. Scientists tell Speedwagon that San Viento can't do anything as long as UV lights are going, but he is still alive and immortal. Speedwagon reveals an image from the cave where San Viento was found, and it is revealed he is one of several Pillarmen. Though San Viento is the lowliest of the four Pillarmen pictured, or so they hypothesize. Back in Italy, JoJo and Caesar hate each other's guts. Caesar hates him because Jonathan caused his grandpa Will Antonio's death, and JoJo didn't even know about Jonathan or his family history until recently, which Speedwagon says isn't fair because he kept that history from JoJo. Caesar says a man should know his history and thinks JoJo's victory over the Pillar Man was pure luck. Caesar says JoJo couldn't even defeat a woman because he's sexist as well as a womanizer, which I guess the two go hand in hand. And Joseph says Caesar couldn't even defeat a pigeon. Caesar kisses a woman, transferring his hymen to her, which causes her to strangle Joseph. She throws JoJo into a fountain, and then Caesar hits him with his secret bubble hymen technique and makes fun of JoJo for not being as clean as him. Which he also says he keeps like a thin layer of soap on his clothes at all times, which is just an odd thing to do. So he's maybe a little too clean. Caesar traps JoJo in a giant bubble for which Joseph is unable to escape, but before Joseph can pass out from lack of oxygen, Caesar kisses the woman again, only for a hominid-fused pigeon to fly out of her mouth and into his. The fight ends, and JoJo and Co. head back to the hotel. At the hotel, Joseph and Caesar both cheat at cards when Caesar's Nancy buddy Mark shows up to take them to see the Pillarmen. Mark has a girlfriend back home in the fatherland, and they're going to get married soon, and Caesar brags about him being his wingman and helping get them together. Caesar makes fun of Joseph for not having a girlfriend, but it seems to me like he prefers to go around smooching random ladies rather than, like, actually dating one. The Pillarmen are shown to be located under the Colosseum. The Nazis investigate the Pillarmen and hope to cut them out of their pillars and put them permanently under UV light. However, one of the Pillarmen impales a Nazi with his horn, and although the Nazis try to drag out more UV lights, the Pillarman, Wamu, named after the band Wham, uses his horn to kill yet more Germans. He uses the slurry of blood and brains to block out the lights and is able to kill the rest of them and steal their life force. He awakens his masters, the other two Pillarmen, Cars and AC/DC, named after the bands Cars and AC/DC, though spelled differently. AC/DC is spelled almost phonetically, and Cars is spelled with a K. JoJo and Co. arrive at the entrance to the tunnels under the Colosseum and notice that there are no guards keeping watch, because the guards have all been killed and mutilated by the Pillarmen. Mark runs away in terror, but in doing so runs into Wamu and has the right half of his body absorbed. Cars briefly explains his plan to the other Pillarmen to get this object called the Redstone of Asia to upgrade the Stone Mask's powers. Caesar uses Haman to mercy kill Mark and decides to challenge the Pillarmen himself. Which again, maybe I would have felt worse for Mark if he wasn't a Nazi, so I was just kind of like, he died, whatever. If he'd just been like this random young Italian man who was friends with Caesar, or just like a random ass German man or whatever, fine. But he was very proud of being a Nazi, so goodbye. So, like, when I do talk about battle tendency having aged poorly, I do mean the Nazi fraternizing and humanizing. To make my own music reference, they are genocidal humanoids. We do not need to have them as our heroes' allies. I feel like, if anything, how I feel part two should have gone, or maybe it would even have been written more in the modern age, is that JoJo should team up with the Pillarmen to take out the Nazis first before going back and wailing on the Pillarmen. Like, maybe the Pillarmen are disgusted by humanity, but they're even more disgusted by humanity's racism against their own.
Possibly.
Also, it just would be cool to have vampires beating up Nazis. I think there is such an anime like that. I think it's called like Hellsing, and they're like vampires are beating up vampire Nazis, and I'm like, yes, that would be epic.
I think in previous episodes they kind of had the Nazis a little more grotesque looking, and now they have kind of like the von Stroheim and this Mark guy, like separate them out, like as kind of like good guys, sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible Mark himself didn't do anything
Maybe not.
awful.
Maybe not as fucked up as what von Stroheim did, but he's still like cool with all of that. Obviously,
Yeah.
he did not seem like he was not down for the cause.
I think Caesar is totally gonna go and mac on Mark's girlfriend. I feel that's gonna happen because he smooched on at least two girls in this episode. Like that was like his main thing.
His main thing is be Italian, smooch on random women.
He kind of had like I don't know makeup on himself or something too, like little stars and crap on his face.
Well, he has these little marks on his face. I think those are meant to be birthmarks. They're kind of like they almost look like little blush things on his cheeks. I think those are just birthmarks.
Okay, he's just sort of insufferable from the start.
Absolutely.
Maybe not as bad as like Dio,
Oh
but
God.
like he just seemed to hate JoJo um on sight. And I think he kind of knew JoJo maybe existed previously, but JoJo didn't really know of Caesar. And I mean, like, I'm not sure how you're mad at him for like what you guys as grandpas did. I mean, I know sometimes that stuff does go on, like the Family Feud type of
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
But and also like for him not knowing things, like if his I'm not sure if that JoJo like he was just like with his grandma, right? He didn't
Yeah.
really have his parents, so
Yeah, no, his parents died.
and maybe
So
they
he's
just
suffering now.
might have wanted to spare him until he was older. I don't know, but I'm
Yeah.
just not sure like hating another person before you really know anything about them and just the constant smooching on girls and kind of being haughty about
Yeah.
everything. I didn't, maybe later on he'll be.
I'm not a huge fan of Caesar. I do think it's funny that they really do have him say "Mamma Mia" every 2 seconds,
Oh
though.
yeah, he did say that a couple times.
It really was only like twice, but I'm just like, ha.
Yeah, I feel like that's like a stereotype and
Yeah.
not anything any like Italian American or like an Italian actually living in Italy would say.
Probably not. No.
I guess I did want to mention like the Speedwagon Foundation. It says it does research for the benefit of mankind and also they were trying to unlock the secret of the stone masks.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll find out what some of this other research is, but I know the main purpose of the show is like these masks. And then the pillar men, like the second group of pillar men, they kind of sounded like Transformers the way they talked, and they seemed to be almost in like I don't know, ladies' bathing suits or something. They looked like they were in like
Yeah, and their old timey
thongs.
loincloths were a little goofy.
They're
The
like
old timiest loincloths, I should say.
walking away in a thong or whatever.
Yeah.
It's sort of hard to take them
Yeah.
seriously.
Something about their diction did very much make them sound like they could be Autobots or something.
I guess they're kind of like Data from Star Trek where they're trying to learn the language just from having observed people and maybe they don't know how to use contractions or something.
Yeah, that probably is what they're trying to get at with that. They're just like a little bit more formal because they're trying not to like mess up.
They don't quite have a hang of the language yet.
Yeah, they wouldn't like be quite at the point of like a fluent native speaker. I do think though that the Pillarmen are gonna be at least entertaining villains. I mean, obviously I've seen it already, but I feel like they're fairly entertaining villains. Just my biggest issue with part two is mainly the Nancys. I feel like if there was like if it was done now, I do not think that Araki would have written it in that way. Or at least I hope not. It would be more. It would be way more fun if just got to see them all just have to wail on each other.
So I take it we're not going to see that.
I wish. I mean, there will still be wailing on folks, but Not in the way that I feel like it should have happened. Because this is JoJo after all. There's gonna be so many fights.
So I guess we'll be seeing JoJo being trained. I guess it would have to be by Caesar, right?
Yeah, Caesar's gonna help with his training, yes.
But I don't think he's gonna be as nice as Grandpa Zeppeli.
No, Grandpa Zeppeli just kind of a strange man, but not like a mean man. He's just very eccentric. Guess we'll have to see about that next time. Next episode, we will be talking about the episodes A Hero's Proof and Lisa Hallman Coach. Will, of course, obviously that gives away, we'll be meeting Lisa, who will help with Hallman coaching as well.
Lisa will be rocking out.
Honestly, it's funny to me that we have all these musical references, but I'm not sure if there actually is a JoJo character who is a musician, and that bugs me just a tiny bit. If it were Venture Brothers, like they will name someone after a reference to something, but they'll do so in such a way that it actually like is an homage to that thing or makes sense to whatever they're referencing. And Rocky's just like, I will randomly slap the name of this band on this guy. Like for example, in a later season, or maybe it's the last season of Venture Brothers, they had a Freddie Mercury themed villain and he was called Mr. Fahrenheit the Supersonic Man, and I thought that was hysterical. But if it were JoJo, there'd just be a guy called Mr. Fahrenheit, the Supersonic Man, and he might not have anything to do with Queen Freddie Mercury or having heat based or supersonic powers.
Yeah, it might even be fun just to throw in a random lyric here and there from these artists that they keep messaging, or like maybe they wear one of their outfits or something.
Yeah.
Like a hairdo or
there are some characters maybe later on who are more obviously like inspired by certain groups. Like I'd say like the JoJo of part 4, Josuke, I think his look is a little bit inspired by Prince. So we just do that a little bit more, and later on, not everything is a music reference. We get some fashion references on there too. I guess if that's all we have to discuss about these 2 episodes. Thank you all so much for listening. If you've been enjoying the podcast, rate us, subscribe. If you're watching or listening to it on YouTube, like the video, comment, subscribe to my channel, what have you. And I will see you next time. Goodbye.
goodbye.